Prior to relocating to Nairobi, Kenya, I understood the importance of adhering to the budget, the spreadsheet, the relocation runway, and how important that is. But a lot of people don't realize, including myself at the time, how once you're in the work in prototype, once you've relocated, how that number can be adjusted so quickly. And today we're talking about just that, about the leverage. Again, about the leverage, because you have to understand that that is the biggest part that can disrupt your enjoyment of moving abroad. When I have a consultation with clients that are thinking about relocating, there is often one question that I hear, and that is, how do I know when I'm ready to move abroad? And I understand why people ask it. It's a fair question, because readiness is really a feeling, something that you will simply know when you have it, like being in love or knowing when the avocado is finally ripe. It's just a feeling, you know when that is. But because I'm the kind of person that is more of an analytical framework kind of individual, I can't just let my customers go on feelings. I have to give them a quantitative, perimeter in which to work through. That's just how I am. That's just how my mind works. So I thought about it, and I went back to my notes, and I went back to my own situation, and I looked at it, and I came up with 5 layers of leverage readiness. And that's what we're talking about today. So in my last video, we spoke about the first layer of the leverage framework, which is really the personal layer. It covers income, saving, systems, skills, business, relationship, and intellectual property. So today we're actually diving a little bit deeper, because that is just the first layer of the leverage framework, which is a part of a larger architect. And once you see all 5 layers, readiness stops being a feeling and becomes a question you can actually answer for yourself. So if you're new here, I'm Emerald, founder of Relocate with Welcome to another Founder's Keynote, another conversation about building income, protecting your freedom, and making better decisions about living globally. I invite you to subscribe if this is the conversation that you've been looking for. If you're considering to relocate, you want to hang out with us, because this is what the channel is all about: how to relocate successfully by way of relocating with revenue. And if you haven't seen the last video, the link is in the description. It sets up everything that we're about to cover, because readiness isn't one decision. It's a series of layers. And I want to show you what those layers actually look like. Not as a checklist, not as a rigid formula, but as 5 layers that creates your level of freedom. Because freedom isn't built overnight. It's built one layer at a time and one sequence at a time. Layer 1, personal leverage. Everything starts here, not with your passport, with you. Think of personal leverage like the soil before you plant anything. You can have the best seed, the best income, the best ideas, the best destination perhaps, or even just the best plan. But if the soil is not prepared, nothing grows. Or rather, things grow, just not what you intend. Personal leverage is your habit, your discipline, your health, your mindset, your ability to keep promises to yourself. Because here's the thing that most relocation content skip entirely. If you cannot manage your own consistency in a familiar environment, changing countries will not fix it. It will simply present you with a more expensive version of the same problems in a language that you may not yet speak. Layer 2, financial leverage. Money doesn't create freedom, but it creates options. So that's a good thing. I want to be precise here, because this layer gets misunderstood. Financial leverage is not about becoming rich. It's about becoming intentional. Think of financial leverage like the pressure in a water tank. When the tank is full, which is basically having an emergency savings, manageable debt, positive cash flow, and an understanding of how your money actually moves. Water flows steadily wherever you direct it. You make the decision from strength. When the tank is empty, you're not directing anything. You are hoping that the tap still works. So financial leverage means that when an unexpected expense arrives, and it will because that's what unexpected expenses do, it is an inconvenience rather than a catastrophe. That destination, that distinction changes everything about how clearly you think and how well you plan. Layer 3, income leverage. This is where most people are groomed to believe that their income comes from one employer. It doesn't. Your income is simply amassed and paid by one customer, one channel, one distribution point for your value. And when you have a single channel business, one employer, the moment that channel, that tap closes, the revenue stops. Think of income leverage like a market stall versus a market. A market stall sells in one place on one day or to whomever passes by. A market, or better yet, an online market, sells anywhere at any time to anyone who finds it. Income leverage happens when your ability to earn becomes portable, when your value can travel with you. Maybe it is a business, a location independent business. Maybe it's just consulting, remote work, digital products, or even intellectual property that you earn money from while you're on the other side of the planet. The source matters less than the principle. Can your income survive if your address changes? That's the question. If the answer is yes, you're building leverage. If the answer is no, then the work has to start to give you income leverage. Layer 4, systems leverage. This is when your work continues even when you're not in the room. Eventually, you'll realize something important. You cannot build freedom if everything depends on you being present, awake, or available. That is not freedom. That is just a job designed for yourself. Think of system leverage like a library. A librarian organizes the books once, categorizes them, shelves them, creates the system, and from that point forward, the library serves readers, whether the librarian is there or not. The knowledge is accessible, the value is repeatable, and the system runs. Your systems have to be the same. Automation, documentation, AI implementation, delegation, clear processes that will allow you to work and continue to work even when you're sleeping, or on a plane, or on a beach in the Philippines, which, by the way, is an excellent place to be when your systems are working properly. This is where effort begins transforming into scale, because freedom is not just earning more. It's depending less on your own constant labor. And layer 5, global leverage. Only and only now do we arrive at relocation, at the geography. Notice something important about where we are? Global leverage, aka relocation, was not at layer 1 or layer 2. It's not at the starting point of the conversation. It is where it's meant to be. At the end, after you put all of those other layers in place. Think of global leverage like a tree that grows tall. The roots, which is your personal leverage, grows deep. The trunk, which is the financial and income leverage, stands tall, straight. That's your backbone. The branches are the system leverage. They extend wide. And from the height that this tree is at is the global leverage. And from that height, that is the global leverage. That is the relocation. That is where you can see the geography, the expansive view, where you can choose your territory that you want to operate in. Global leverage means that you get to choose to build a life that operates across any borders. Now, let me give you one other analogy that ties all 5 layers together, because I think it explains the sequence even more clearly than any list can. Think of building a house. The personal leverage is the foundation. The soil is prepared. The concrete is poured. Everything that comes after depends on the foundation. Financial leverage is the structure, the walls, the frame, the load-bearing element. Without this, the house cannot stand upright. Income leverage gives the house the electricity, the plumbing, the functionality. Suddenly, it's not just standing, it is functional. It can sustain life. System leverage turns the house into a home that runs itself. The heating comes on before you wake up. The light dims when you leave the room. The air conditioning works without you needing to be there. And global leverage opens the front door to the world. From there, you can choose where you go next. Now, staying with this analogy, most people try to install the front door before they've built the foundation and then wonder why things feel unstable. The problem was never the country. The structure underneath it was not ready. So yes, the income stream that you start to build today, the system that you developed this week, the financial buffer you protected this month, each one of those layers, each layer connects to the next, making each one easier to adhere to, easier to strengthen. And one day, without any single dramatic moment, you'll wake up and you'll realize that you have options that you did not have before. Real ones. The kind that don't depend on anyone else's permission. That is what leverage actually looks like when it compounds. So, if you're wondering whether you're ready to relocate, don't ask yourself whether you've chosen the right country. Ask yourself, which layer am I building today? Because every layer you strengthen makes every future decisions easier. And one day, without even realizing it, the relocation will stop being an escape and simply the next logical step. Now, if you're still in the question phase, how do I do this? I want to introduce a product to you that we have developed specifically for individuals like yourself. It's called the Relocation Toolkit, and it walks you through 4 assessments: income, readiness, business structure, and insurance reality. The toolkit comes with our Readiness Mirror AI tool that guides you through the process so that you know exactly where you stand before you commit to anything else. But if you're ready for the full framework, the digital relocation blueprint gives you the step-by-step sequence. Income first, systems second, geography last. This is a work-along ebook that comes with the Blueprint AI Mirror to help you gain clarity faster so that you don't stay stuck. And if you're ready to build your specific plan with your name on it, that's what we do during the RWR Weekend Workshop. This is a 2.5-hour live working session where you come with your situation and you leave with a now, next, later roadmap built around your specific numbers, your specific income, and your specific destination. All 3 links are in the description below. Start where you are, not where you think you should be. I'm Emero. Thank you for spending this time with me. And if this keynote gave you something to think about, subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tap on the notification bell so that you don't miss the next conversation. Because in the next Founders Keynote, we're going to focus on the layer that changes everything: income first. Before your passport becomes portable, your income needs to become portable. That is the conversation. And I promise it's going to be worth showing up for. Until next time, let's build a life that gives you more choices, one layer at a time. Asante sana. Peace.
Relocate the revenue. A channel about relocation leverage. Income independent leverage. Geo arbitrage leverage. Lifestyle leverage. Build freedom intentionally with them road.